Hello. So, over Twitter, some people have been asking me about career advice and how do I think or what do I want to do in the future. And I thought it was a very interesting question just to kind of explain to you my perspective. And I think a lot of you are also looking for career advice. So, I thought just about making a short video, just showing you who I am, what I have done, and kind of how I look into the computer software business. So, you know me, I'm Oscar. I'm from Bolivia. I am 31 years old and I live in Germany. So, I studied in Bolivia, um, and I this was my laboratory, right? I studied at the State University in Bolivia. When I started studying, actually, I didn't start with computer science. I started studying finance engineering, which is basically, economics, so to say. And after 1 year, I kind of realized that the type of work that I would do for the rest of my life wasn't really that interesting to me, right? I didn't find it challenging enough or, just justifiable as just the work. So then I decided to switch to computer science, or, well, actually, it's called systems engineering. And the entire idea behind that was that it's a mixture of computer science and industrial engineering because Bolivia is not very developed. So the idea was that software engineers would be able to help, the very small industry that's in there, not only with software but also with processes and modernizing the entire infrastructure. But yeah, I studied there in Bolivia. Of course, there are many deficiencies coming in from South America, but during my college years, I also participated in the ICPC. Now, I think we did well enough, but I never had a stable team, which is one of the things that you need to do well on this contest because you cannot do everything alone. But basically, this is where I started a lot of my passion for algorithms and just the real technical problems. Um, so then, after I finished my studies, I moved to the capital city, to La Paz, and I started working in this company, which is was called Tier Connect. This was my first job, and one of the things in South America is that there are a lot of offshoring companies, which pay you an above average salary for for the country, but basically you're just a gun for hire, right? Like there's not really a progression you can do with your career there. You just you're just a cheap software developer compared to the first world. So I was there for not really sure, maybe 6 months, close to a year maybe, and then I kind of realized that that wasn't for me as well. So I quit and I didn't have any plan. I just wanted to rest for a couple of months because even before I finished college, I had already started working. So this wasn't something I really planned. But then I moved back into my hometown and then I started working as a freelancer. So I worked as a freelancer via Upwork for, I don't know, 3 years or something like that. And I was doing quite well. I was well reviewed. And projects were not too hard to come by. This was on the early days of mobile development with some of the frameworks. So, for example, my first project I got for React Native was around this time, 7 years ago or something like that. And the truth is, I was in a very comfortable position because I was making, maybe not a American salary, maybe not a European salary, but quite a bit of money for South American, especially for Bolivia. So from a financial point of view, I really had no incentive to change my situation. I think I would have been better economically if I would have just stayed at home. But the truth is, I got a little bit bored with just the freelance work, right? So if you're a freelancer, maybe you know this feeling of, being on your own a lot of the time. You don't have a team. You're just also a gun for hire. You make a bit more money, but it's not necessarily without some costs. So then I was working with a lot of German clients, So at some point, it kind of just makes sense to try to move to Germany or to Europe. So I was between two choices. One was looking for a job, and the other one maybe do a master's degree. And I tried to get into some universities here in Europe, but my grade average wasn't super high. And also, you really do need a scholarship, right? Like coming from a third world country, you cannot really afford living in the cities. So I started looking for a job, and then I luckily found one here in Munich, which is to say it's fairly easy to move to Germany, especially if you work on the STEM fields: mathematics, computer science, medicine. The government does make it quite easy for you to get a visa. The only thing you need to do is find a job, and right now, who doesn't want programmers? Who knows how long this condition is going to last? Maybe a few more years. But I kind of took advantage of that situation, right? So the first company that hired me here, I never really worked with them. They only looked at my work, at my CV, and they decided to take a chance with me. So I moved here to Germany, and I started working in this company. It was a small software company here in Munich. That was a really great experience, at least at the beginning, because the people were just awesome. I think I couldn't have landed in a better company. However, after a couple of years, things started to shift a little bit because they wanted to change from a consultancy into more of an incubator. So around that time, I decided to try to join startups. So basically, on this company, it's also important for me to mention, they decided to switch into this incubator model. So there, I switched from being just a developer, more or less team lead of front end, to a more CTO role, right? So the project that was assigned to me or that we started was this Berker app, right? So here we had a team of 6 to 7 to 10 people, depending on which features we needed to build. And here I kind of got, like I said, into the CTO position, where I was in charge of all the technical part. I had 3 or 4 developers under me, which, I just kind of helped with a bunch of this stuff. But the model, like the way that the company was structured, wasn't ideal. So I kind of decided to change companies and join a proper startup. I worked there at the startup of a friend here in Munich. They're called Cabmo. They did the startup game a lot better. They got financing, and the idea was for me to join them for some years until get some stocks. So I do have a couple of thoughts on startups in general, which I can probably share in a different video. Just in general, I'm not a big fan of them anymore, just because it's a gamble, which can pay a lot, of course. That's the basic idea behind stocks, and you put in your time into these startups. But just from a life perspective, they are quite stressful, and it is a gamble at the end of the day. But in any case, I decided to leave this company as well after a short-ish period of time. And then I joined another smaller company here in Munich that wasn't too technically interesting. It was just something, I just needed a job, somewhere easy to lay down for like a year or something like that. And a few months ago, I decided to go freelance. So this is kind of my life story so far. And I guess a lot of people have been knowing me over the last month or over the last year because of the work that I have been doing on the open source and the React Native community, right? So all the knowledge and all the work that I've been doing on React Native has been due to the previous jobs that I had, right? Where it seems like there is not a lot of React Native expertise going around, especially here in Munich. So basically, it wasn't really a conscious decision for me to move into the mobile space. Like I said, my career was a little bit more oriented towards computer science. So I really I really don't care about React Native, to be honest. What I do care about is solving problems and building stuff, right? So I can also do backend, or I have also done backend. I have also done web. I have also done DevOps and so on and so forth, right? And as a CTO as well, I have done a lot of people management. So here's kind of my perspective on this. I don't chase a career, because if I would have chased a career, I would probably still be back in my hometown, right? Just because if you live in your local community, there's probably a different set of priorities and a different set of opportunities that you have at hand. And at the point where I was studying and just kind of looking at the market from a Bolivian perspective, going into software development, it's not really a big market. It's not really, you don't see any rich software developers, right? That was never the motivation. So I don't chase a career, right? At some point I realized that this is not the path for me, right? I don't find it interesting, because what's the point of chasing a career? The point of chasing a career is that you always aim for a higher position, a higher salary, and so on and so forth. And at some point I realized, once I have enough money, it doesn't bring me happiness. As a matter of fact, it is possibly one of the worst decisions you can make if you are, truly an engineer at heart. And I can tell you this from experience, because as a CTO, a lot of your work shifts from doing engineering, doing software coding, to managing people. And to be honest, computers are easy, right? The computer doesn't care. The computer only does what you tell it to do. You can smash a computer and buy a new one the next day. Working with people, working on the real world, where there is many uncertainties when it comes to deals, when it comes to features to build, and so on and so forth. This is far, far, far more difficult, right? So this is also something that you will have to decide on your own, right? If at some point you decide to chase a career and you're always aiming for a higher position and a higher salary, at some point you will out-promote your skills, so to say, or your intended career for a career path, right? So basically, this is something that I don't do at all, and all the work that I've been doing in the React Native ecosystem, right? All the open source libraries that I do, React Native, Quick SQLite, and the JSI. Like, nobody pays me to do this. Okay, it seems like the internet is not working. Nobody pays me to do this, right? Like, most of the work that I've done on these companies, this type of companies, they only want to deliver features as fast as they can, right? Like, they only want to develop or take the library, put it in the app, make it work. They don't care about code quality. They don't care about speed. At some point, it comes back, and if everything needs to be fast, you need to pay back all the technical debt. But it's just not the focus of a business, right? So when I developed these React Native libraries, I did it because it's fun to me. I did it because it's interesting. I did it because it's a challenge. And you can see that there are some benefits into this, right? Of course, you don't want to work on something where you're just wasting your time. So you can also have to open your eyes and ideally find something which you can sell somehow and make a profit, but at the same time just kind of fulfills your heart and your wishes. That's the only advice I could really give you, right? But this is my own very personal perspective, and I know I'm kind of weird when it comes to money and so on and so forth. But, just, I think the best thing that one can do in life is just care about quality, and just doing things properly, and, making the best work possible. And then success will follow you, more or less, right? I don't know if I could count myself as successful in some measures, like money-wise, pretty normal guy. But I do consider my life successful so far because of the stuff that I have gotten to do and to lead through, and moving to a different country and so on and so forth. So that's basically my my perspective on life and career, and a little bit about my story. I would be really interesting. I would be really interested in maybe talk about different topics. Maybe what does it take about being a CTO, or maybe some thoughts on technologies and so on and so forth. If you do have any questions, just let me know. You can follow me on Twitter. That's where I spend most of my time. And yeah, just send me your feedback, any other questions that you might have. Cheers.